Welcome to the Security Desk for Access Control. My name is Rafael Morales. I'm a technical trainer for Genetech, and I'll be your host for this webinar. Today we're going to be talking about our new 5.2 Security Desk platform. Some of the things that we're going to go through our short webinar are the login in, the home menu of the new application. We're going to be talking about saving and renaming tasks, widgets, and tools. Basically, widgets are applications that we can use within our Security Desk client operator software. And also we're going to be creating and showing some of the monitoring tasks within the application. Again, my name is Rafael Morales, and let's get started. The first thing that we need to do within our application, of course, is to log in. On the left side, we notice that we can use a username and password and type each one of them on the field here in the login, username and password. And we're going to be using our the directory. We're going to be logging into our directory, which is our database of all the entities and users within our system, especially a database that holds all the information concerning our security software. In our example here, we notice that we're using a TCP IP address, but we can also use the name of the directory machine itself. Now on the right side, we notice that if we use Windows credentials, which is basically using the Windows domain controller to log in, we can actually use our Windows username if we do have a connection to a Windows domain system. And again, this is adding a different application. We need to have a feature called directory, Windows directory connection that we can use for that. We can type the username and password, and we will check the user use Windows credentials in this area here. And again, we're going to be typing our Security Center directory. Okay. We also going to be talking about the home page, similar to the 5.0, but it's a lot of changes in 5.2. The main one of the things our customers were always talking about is that they really didn't know where the home page or the initial page within our software was. Now we make it really clear here that we have our home page, Security Desk, and we have this little home icon or button that identifies our task or the home page that we have. We also notice that again, following the theme of task, we have different tasks that we can use or we can open through our software. And now our options are really big and bold icons representing each one of the tasks that we can open. We can browse all the tasks. We can save recently used tasks as well. I'm going to be showing that later through the webinar. We also are going to be talking about saving tasks. Again, I keep talking about tasks. Tasks are things that we do within our software. Those could be video tasks related to opening reports, viewing different events, searching for events within the system, and each one of them, depending on whether or not we talk about Synergist or Omnicast or video application, each one of them has their own different tasks that we can create and we could customize every time we go into the app. So again, we're going to be going over that, but most of any of the tasks can be saved by right-clicking on the tab. And again, I'm going to show you quickly in brief seconds here how to create one. And also, we can actually save the parameters. Once we create a task, we can save the parameters of that task. So the next time we open it, all those our parameters are saved, and we don't have to recreate that same task again. Okay, so saying that, let me go to the live system here, and let me just show you the login window. I created a username called admin, and I'm just going to type in the password. And I am not logging into a Windows domain, so I'm not going to be clicking here on the use Windows credentials. So I'm just going to keep my my Security Center login ID, and my directory in this case is 10.0.0.10. But depending on your location, you're going to be using a different directory, either IP or directory machine name. I'm going to log in, and again, between our or during my my webinar, I'm going to be going back and forth a live system, the PowerPoints, just explaining based on the PowerPoint slides. I'm going to log in, and I'm going to notice my brand new security desk operator user interface. If I click on, let me go back, if I click on browse all tasks, I'm going to be having all the tasks available to me on the user interface. And again, I'm logging in as an administrator, so I might have some tasks that are not necessarily available to all the users. But for the sake of explaining, I am showing all the different tasks available. Again, we have operation tasks, which we have monitoring, alarm monitoring, remote, car holder management. You notice when I browse on top of one of my tasks, it kind of explains what I'm able to do within that task. For example, car holder management, I can create car holders and manage all the properties and credentials and access rights. If I browse and if I bring my cursor in top of monitoring, I'm going to monitor system events in real time. For example, viewing cameras or checking the status of a door, for example. If I go down to investigation, and if I need to look for archives, I can search. I can open a task to search video for archives. If you take a look at the investigation tasks, you notice some of them do have almost like a green line underneath, and when I hover over my mouse, it actually turns green. Our applications, Synergist and Omnicast, are somewhat identified by colors. Videos identified by green, red identifies our Synergist access control application. Okay. So it's easy to go and tell which one of them are Synergist or access control task and which ones are video control task. Right. If I keep scrolling down, I have some other tasks that I can create. Now, I spoke about creating and saving tasks, and for example, if I go to the operational area here and I create a monitoring task, I can then create my own task. So let's say I'm going to create this one. It's called monitor number 1. Oops, a mistake here. We just call it mon 1. Okay, and I'm going to create this brand new task. If you notice, it's got a different name as the second one. Okay, now what I can do is I can actually drag some of my cameras over to the newly created task. Okay. Now let's say, for example, I want to save this task the way it is. Okay, I can just come up here, right click on Mon1, and I can save this task. Now I've got two options. I can either save the task as a private task or as a public task. So the difference is if I save Mon1 as a private task, I'm the only person that can actually view this task. Every morning or every time I log in, I'm going to have this task available to me. So for example, I'm going to close this task. If I go back to my home page and I go to private task, that's my brand new monitoring task available. And if I click on it, it should come up with the two cameras that I drag and drop over to tile number 1 and number 2. So I don't have to come every morning, create a brand new monitoring task, and drag the cameras over. I can just decide, well, let me create a task for area number 1, area number 2, and I'm going to place the cameras in that area. And every morning I'll be able to just double click, go to my private task and double click there. I can also, if I decide to create, come back here to monitoring an operation, I can also create a public task. Let's say, for example, I'm going to create mon number 2. And mon number 2, I'm just going to have one camera available on my viewing area here. And I can decide to then right click and save this task as a public task. And that task is going to be available on my public partition, okay, which is the area that I can log in and I can see all the entities that I'm part of. Right, this partition is basically an area which I'm going to be able to log in. I'm going to set the member of that partition and every single entity within that partition. For example, doors, cameras. I'm going to be able to view those entities. So I'm going to make it part of, again, public partition is my default partition within my system, and I'm going to save it. Now, if I close and I go back in here to public tasks, I'm going to see mon number 2. Go back to mon number 2, and there's my camera number 5, which I just dragged and saved. Let's say another user comes in, logs in. That person will also be able to use mon number 2. This is really nice for administrators that can create different monitoring tasks, different cameras, different doors, and make it available to all the users that decide to. Okay, let me go back here to my PowerPoint. Okay, so we explained that we can have different tasks. We can right click, we can save them, and we can save those tasks as either public or private task. Okay. We went over saving the public task. As I mentioned before, any user may be able to open it, or a private task, only the user that created it may open it. Okay. In our example, in public task, we have 2 tasks available to all the users. But if I open my private task, if you notice, has a little red circle with a white line across. It means that's a private task. Okay. Let's go over the security desk overview. Again, it's a new application. We give it a lot of thought into having more space for the user to view the entities within the system. For example, being able to view the cameras, being able to view areas and maps and doors. So we took quite a bit of time, and we listened to our customers, and made some really good improvement to the 5.2 application and user interface. On Security Desk SD 5.2, the user interface, we're going to have our home page. I mentioned the fact that we now can clearly identify our security desk with the home page. Every time we want to go back to our home page, we can just look for this task. Then we're going to have our application tray on the top. It's going to give us a lot of information we're going to cover in a little bit here. We're going to have our taskbar. All the tasks that I create are going to be shown on the taskbar right here on top. And one good thing that we can do is we can actually cycle our task if we wanted to. We do have our report and events pane. By default, we're going to notice that is hidden. Again, to give more space to the user to view entities such as cameras. But I'm going to show you where it is. To the left, we have our logical view, or all the entities and doors are going to be here on the left side. And then we have our canvas, which can be changed. Normally, most people use the 2x2 area, but we have different formats that we can use to add more entities and cameras to the canvas. And to the right side, we have our dashboard. Some of the controls, such as PTC, exporting video, we have the ability to unlock doors, is available on the dashboard. So let's take a look at the logical view within Security Desk. When you have on the top, we're going to have our search and name filter. Actually, it's a quick way to look for any entities within my system. So if I know I'm going to look for a camera, and I really can't remember either the IP address, or I somewhat know the name of the camera, I just really can't remember the complete name or number, I can just use the search filter, and I can quickly find my camera within my system. I can do the same thing with doors, or again any other entity within my security center application. On the top, I'm going to be able to open the search window. I can also use that button to clear my filter and retype the proper filter that I want to use. Again, this little globe that I see here is my directory, and every single one of the entities underneath my directory. On this example, we have areas represented by floors. If I had elevators, for example, and I have my doors, and I have my cameras as well. They're all underneath my directory, again represented by the globe. I'm gonna have my areas, which is basically a way to group my entities in a way that it makes sense to me within the system. So I can group, for example, doors within areas. I can call it floor number 1, and all the doors within that area or within that floor are going to be contained on that one area that I created. And I can do the same thing for my cameras. I'm going to see the arrow that I can click, and I'm going to see all the entities within my area, or within my top level area, if you want to call it, of top level area. I'm going to have my shell entities underneath that. And I will have any, if I'm federating any other Omnicast system or security center system, are going to be represented by another globe, which is a little different than the one on the top. And this one has a little yellow arrow pointing up, and this will be for an Omnicast system, and one that is almost similar to the director that I have, but this one again has a yellow arrow. It represents a security center federation. I can then right click to adjust the display of inactive entities, and I can they're actually going to show yellow if they're not active within the system. And again, we're going to quickly take a look at the other options in the live system. Notification tray, I have a lot of information on my security desk application. It tells me whether or not I have an export and whether or not it completed. Video exporting, if I'm cycling different tasks that I create, if I do have any active alarms. But as you can see, threat levels, basically indicators of activities within the total system, different conditions within my system. I can actually execute hot actions. Instead of waiting for an event to trigger an action, I can actually trigger those actions manually. Remote monitoring, this is something new in 5.2. I can tell the ID of my monitor and the volume, login information, which directory I'm logging into, the CPU meter from the Windows machine, my local time as well. Actually, quickly before we continue, let me actually then go to and go to my live system. And let's go back to my monitoring task. Like I mentioned before, on the top, this is my event pane, and this is my application tray. It's showing me right now the date, and I'm logging in. The login information tells me, if I hover over the globe, it's telling me that I'm logging in as admin to my directory through TCP port 5500. It's not necessarily that important right now, but it gives me that information. I'm using monitor number 65. I do have some alerts, and here I got my hot actions, threat levels, and start task cycling if I needed to. Again, on the left side, I'm going to have my all my entities available. Okay. And let's say, for example, if I want to search for anything that starts with CAM, and I press enter. It's a quick way to show me, well, there's a lot of things starting with CAM, but let me narrow down that filter and go CAM3. I'm going to look for, there we go. I got a camera named camera number 3, and it brings that camera right away. So again, it's a quick way to filter based on name. And I'm gonna try door. It's bringing me all the entities that have door as part of the name. Okay, now I can basically double click on that door easily. Okay. Right. If I want to clear the filter, I can just clear the filter that way. Right, and again, talking about all the different, I got some areas which I explained a few minutes ago. So I do have a door underneath my main building area. Okay. I have my cameras. I have another door that is not part of an area, so you can tell the difference there. Okay. Again, I can right click, I can refresh, sort by name and by type if I needed to. So quickly, let me show you some of the features of the application of my monitoring window here. If you notice here on the left side, I can hide the logical view if I wanted to, make more space for my entities. If I want viewing cameras, for example, I got more space for my cameras. If I want to bring it back, it's as simple as clicking on the arrow. Same thing I can do with my dashboard. I can click on the dashboard icon and get rid of the icon there. Okay. If I want to show it again, I can basically lock the dashboard into place, but again, I can remove it if I needed to. And now I have all this space for my entities on my cameras or doors, or whichever I'm looking at. Okay, let me return again, and let me show the logical view. One thing I wanted to mention is if I drag and drop a camera by left clicking and dragging over the camera over each one of the tiles, I can quickly remove all my tiles or my entities by clicking on the clear all. Okay, or I can just drag and drop, go to the number and clear. Okay, very good. Let me go and return to my PowerPoint. Let's now talk about the widgets and tools. And again, like I mentioned in the beginning, widgets are applications within my security desk client that I can use to manage my system. Okay, access control, and since we're talking about mainly about access control, we have the ability to open doors manually through the widgets. I can highlight a camera, not a camera, sorry, I can highlight a door and actually close or open that door. And also I can overwrite a going blank here, overwrite the schedule for opening that door. Okay, so for example, if the door is set to be open or set to be closed, for example, from 8 to 5 Monday to Friday, I can overwrite that schedule by clicking on this button, and again I will show it to you shortly. We have our video widgets, which are used to manage our video system. On the left side, we have again the ability to play our video in a live format, but I can also do playback mode. For example, if I'm looking at video from the past 5 minutes, or I want to search video that happened 5-6 days ago, I can fast forward, play that video using the widgets. We also have the take a snapshot widget. We can also add bookmarks, and also to the right side here, if we do have PTCs, we can manage our presets. We can configure presets, given that we do have rights, and depends on the administrator if they give you rights to manage and create patterns and presets within our PTCs. And on the right side, we have the example of a playback mode on the camera. Okay, so again, let's go back to our live system, and if I drag over a camera here and I drag over a door, now we're going to see the difference. Right now I'm viewing camera number 1. If I double click on tile number 1, it expands to the complete view here. And now on the bottom we have our different controls that we can use. And to the right we have a dashboard with our video widgets. If you notice, some of the controls that we have on the bottom, the overlays, are the same that we have on our dashboard. Same goes if we click on the number 1, we can restore the tile to the original size by clicking here, or we can also do it by clicking on this button, maximize tile. So again, the same information or the same options that I have on my dashboard on the right, I can also get by clicking on the number on the camera and selecting the task or the job that I want to do. So if I go to camera, I can start recording, I can save a snapshot, add a bookmark, but I can also do that on the right side. If you notice, you can also record, you can add a bookmark, take a snapshot as well. We can restore the tile. If you notice, on the right side in the dashboard we have the same icon, maximize tile in full screen, and we can also clear. And if you notice, and we're going to talk about later, but we have shortcuts here. Yes, I can click on the clear and it will go away. Same thing if I click here number 2, it will go away. Let's say for example I'm working with 2 cameras and I really don't want to click on the number and click on clear. I can do 2 things. Again, I can click on the number and click clear, or I can use backspace. So let me just highlight the tile that I'm working on, and I'm going to do a backspace, and that will get rid of that entity. Same thing I can do with number 2. I can click on backspace and it will get rid of that camera. Now let's say I have 2 cameras and I want to get rid of both cameras at the same time. Several options. We can clear all, okay, or we can do control backspace. So I'm going to hold the control button and do control backspace. Will get rid of both of the cameras. Okay, so that's some quick shortcuts that I like to use. They're very handy. So backspace will get rid of the entity on the selected tile. And how do I know it's selected? Again, it has the yellow lines around. Or if I want to get rid of all the entities, I can do control backspace. And again, we have the rewind. We have the thumbnails here that we can bring if we wanted to. We want to look at some of the thumbnails on the video. Okay, if I want to go back here, we'll go back to that time and we start in playback mode now. I want to go back to live. I'm on playback. How do I know that? Because it's playing here. How do I go back to live? I click on the live button. Okay. But again, I can do the same thing from here as well. Okay. Get rid of the thumbnail, so you can just click here. If I want to record the video, I can record the video by clicking on the this little round button here. Okay. It's indication that the camera is not recording right now. Red would be indication of the camera is recording. Okay, so I guess the administrator gave me the right to actually record a video. Or actually on this camera, we're recording based on motion. How do I know? It's basically we have some people moving around and all of a sudden my recording started. So I know now it's recording on motion and it's controlled by the system. Again, we can take a snapshot by clicking on the button here. Okay, it tells me that I just created a snapshot. You can record video or export video. You can also create bookmarks. So for example, I'm going to add a person walk through, let's see, walk in front of camera. Of course, that's evident. And I click OK. And now I just created a little bookmark here. So it tells me that it's a quick way. I'm basically adding a check mark on the database that I can use to look for video in different ways. I can just do a search based on the bookmark Maybe I don't remember what the camera number was or the camera name or when did it happen. But I do remember that I type in walk through the camera, and I can do a search based on that bookmark that I added. Okay. So again, it's very simple to use. Drag and drop. Every time I double click on a camera, it's going to go for the next available tile. If I want to get rid of all the cameras, I can click on all. Now if you notice that I've been working on the 2x2 pattern, but we can change that by clicking on the change tile pattern button here. We have 1, 4, 9, 16, but we do have more options that we can select. And let's say for example I want to use 9 tiles, and now I'm going to drag some cameras over, and again if I save this tile, okay, I'm going to save it now. Okay, save as, it's fine. I'm going to save, I'm going to get rid of it. I should be able now to, so that's a public monitoring task now, or my 3 cameras that are available there. Okay, and I can clear them all as well. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. Now we talked about some of the things that we can do within the security desk application. One of the things that we can do in terms of synergies is actually unlock doors and actually also overwrite the schedules that we have on those doors. So let's say for example, let me go back to my application once more. I got a camera here. Sorry, I got a door. And now if I notice on the right side, I brought a door entity. So now I have some of the same widgets that I have for video, because I do have a camera associated to this door. That's why I do have those widgets available. But I also have the ability now to unlock this door. Okay, if you notice there, I unlock the door. Okay, and it's locked again. I basically send a manual command to lock that door. Now this door I do have configured as a 24/7 door in which you have to use your credentials. That is the access rule that I have configured on this door. So now we can overwrite or change the unlock schedule that I have by clicking on this button here, overwrite unlock schedules. And now I got the options to unlock for maintenance. So for example, let's say we do have some workers coming in and out of the building. We can just unlock this door indefinitely until the workers are done. So you notice now that my door is unlocked, and those guys can come in and out without having to create so many events in my access control system. And I can go back to locking the door again. If I go back here to, not only can I unlock for maintenance, but I can temporarily override that schedule. So again, right now I have an access rule that says through this door 24/7 you do need your access to be able to come in. Okay? But now I can override that schedule and say, well, let me unlock, for example, for 5 minutes or between this time and this time. I can also do that as well. Okay? So I can do that through this icon here. Okay? And again, I can unlock and lock the door depending on the schedule it has. Monitoring task, I did spoke about those. We can create as many as we need, and we can configure the doors or the task. I'm sorry. Let's say for example I can have a video monitoring task only with video entities, so I can just have a monitoring task with only access control entities, and I can save those with their own name and either make them a public or private task available only to me or to all the people within the system. We also talked about the ability to change tile pattern. Okay, and again we can change the pattern, and I can save that pattern with the different entities that I want. Now, talking about access control and video, everything that happens on an access control system is basically an event. So for example, a person walked in and it's an access control event. Access granted, access denied. But before I do, or before I can monitor those events, I have to be able to set my system to monitor those entities. So if I want to know what happens on door number 1, I have to monitor door number 1. If I want to know, for example, if video motion happened on camera number 5, then I have to monitor camera number 5 for motion detection. Okay. But again, multiple monitoring tasks can be created, and we can monitor the entities that we want. Okay. Entities can be linked to a specific tile, or actually we can just click on all, and it doesn't really matter what happens on that entity. Any available tile will be able to be used to display the events within, and it will, they will appear in the event pane above the canvas that we have. Okay. So what we're talking about here is, let's say for example I want to monitor door number 2 and door number and area building, main building. I can just click on monitor entities, click on door number 2, and let me also monitor the main building. Okay, now basically anything that happens on those entities, let me change it back to 2 by 2. Now we see all the different events that happen within that door. So let me go ahead and swipe a card. Okay, now we see that Marlene was granted access to door number 2. It automatically shows up on my tile, and now I have my event down here in the event pane. Access granted, Marlene Johnson on door number 2. Let me take another card, swipe it over to door number 1, and now let's see Kathy Wilson able to, she was granted access on my system on door number 1. Okay. Again, if I delete those entities on my monitor entity task here, then if I swipe my car on door number 2, I don't really see anything. Actually, let me clear the windows so we can see it a little easier. We do it again. Door number 2, and I really don't see anything. I know my car was granted access, but I really don't see the events on my access control task here, on my monitoring task. But again, if I go to door number 2 and I select it, let me change it to tile number 2. I'm going to swipe, and there it is. Access granted to Marlene Johnson. Okay. Come back to the PowerPoint. I'm sorry. My apologies. There we go. Okay. So we know again that if we need to monitor the entities, we need to add those entities to the monitor event area here. Okay, very important. And we went over selecting the entities to monitor. In our example, I selected door number 1, door number 2, and we saw the events for Marlene and Kathy. Okay, how do we go about doing that? You can select the monitor entities button, and clicking on the plus sign, we can select the entities to track, assign the tiles to the entities, and that's optional. We can just select all, and whichever task is open, it'll be used. And also very important to note, and my apologies here, let me change this to visible. We need to make sure that even though I selected my entities to be monitored, I have to make sure that my computer, my client, is filtering those same events. For that we have to go to our, if we go to our home page, we go to options, we go to events. We have to make sure that the events that I'm looking to monitor are also being filtered on my computer. If I go back here to my application, apologies, there it is. I go back to security desk, options, and events. Okay. I want to make sure that my access control events over here are being monitored as well. If not, I'm never going to get them on my client computer. Access granted, access denied. So whichever events you want to receive on your computer, they have to be filtered or selected under the options tab here. And again, we go to the home button, options, and events. Okay. Okay. We actually noticed that view the events on the tile. I presented a car to one of my tiles, and we saw that the picture came up. Of course, we have to configure the application, so every time I badge my credentials, the user will have a picture that I can use as a reference. Every time that I badge a car, a camera came up. But again, that's because it's configured, so every time an event happens on that one door, I'm also bringing an entity called camera number 1. That's why I saw a picture there, or a video. Hot actions, this is something that we can do within our system. And again, if we know Security Center, we know that things happen on our system. Events, for example, motion detection, access deny, things like that are events that happen on my security system. Now I can use those same events and create actions. For example, send an email. I can sound an alarm or a buzzer. I can trigger an alarm. Okay. And so we can also be the I guess the activators of that event, of that action. Sorry. So we can create what is called hot actions. If we notice here on the top, we have this little button, and we can use it to actually create a hot action. I don't really have to wait for a motion event, or I don't have to wait for an access deny to create an action. I can use my hot action button and create my own actions. And as we notice, we can create shortcuts to trigger those hot actions. Okay, so let's say, for example, if I go back to my system here. Sorry, I actually pre-created some. I created a little hot action here called the send message, but I can edit that. I can create another one. Okay, so let's say I want to create a. Let me send another message, for example, just to go over the send a message action here. Now I'm going to need to send that action or that alert to one of my users. I'm going to select admin because that's the user I'm using right now. And I'm going to say just hello. Okay. And I'm going to create that one hot action. Now I got two hot actions called send message. Both of them are different. But I can select one of them and I can execute. And as you can see, because I'm logging in as administrator, I'm receiving that message called hello. Yeah, go and close. We double click here and let me go ahead and edit. And I just wanted to show you that we have many actions that we can take. We can add a bookmark, for example, to a camera. I can select camera number 5 and just select again hello. It's an example. And now if I go here, I can do Control F3. If I go now to camera number 5, select camera number 5, I see here hello. Okay, I could have done the same thing by actually I did Control F3, but I could do the same thing by just clicking and execute. Okay. And lastly, some of the other things that we can do in 5.2 security desk, we can actually manually trigger an alarm. We know that within our system we have different events, and we can use those events to trigger actions. One of the actions can be trigger an alarm, but we can do this manually. This could be the example as mentioned here on the slide. Security operator, he needs or he's got an emergency situation. He can actually trigger this alarm manually. And how do we do that? If I go back to my application here, we do have the alarm monitoring task. If I go back to security desk and I open my task, I have a alarm monitoring task. If I do have an alarm created by the system because of an event, this task will open automatically. But here I decided to open it manually to show you how to trigger an alarm. I can click here on trigger an alarm, and I can select the alarm that I want to trigger manually. I'm going to select this alarm here, and we'll trigger the alarm. This automatically will reach the recipients of this alarm. In my example, again, I'm logging in as administrator, and I configure the system to send the alarm over to me. I can now go ahead and acknowledge the alarm. Okay. Go back to the PowerPoint. You can also do reporting or report an incident. A little different from bookmark, or very similar to a bookmark. And a bookmark we use to kind of put this little check mark on the database. So for example, I'm viewing camera number 1. I can decide to put a bookmark because I saw an individual, which is he might be loitering around the parking lot, and I can just type gentleman with yellow shirt and khaki pants, and I can later use that information to search my video for that information. Instead of having to use my camera name or the date and time, I can open a bookmark task and report based on that information. Same with the reporting of an incident. I can create an incident, but now I can tag this incident to different entities. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a camera. If I go back to the application, for example, I can go back to tools and now report an incident. I can say test, for example, and this is where I reference either my camera or my door, or both of them. And I can create this this report. I can later, as an administrator, I can open a incident, and I'm going to use my search toolbar or area here, and I'm going to open a incident task. Okay. And I'm just going to generate an incident, a report based on time, the last day. I could have used years, month, or I could use relative time, something that happened today between 6 and 7. But I know it happened today. It's an example. And I'm not going to use any other filter. And here it is. That's my my reference, my incident that I created. And of course I can export that incident if I needed to. I can use comma delimiter, separated value format, Excel, or PDF. Okay, and lastly, I want to show you people counting. It is included in 5.2, and is the ability to basically know how many people are within an area. And it's something that we can use in access control. It requires a special configuration. We basically need to configure a door with a in and out reader and make that reader or that door part of an area which we can run our report against. So as an example, I'm going to take Kathy Wilson, go through main building, and as we see, Kathy Wilson is in the main building right now. Now Kathy Wilson is going to exit the building. Right now I have one person within my main building. Now Kathy Wilson is going to walk out of the area. Let me go to the reader, out reader, and she's exiting that area. Okay, so again, it's a quick way to know how many people are in the area that I have configured. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next seminar. Thank you very much.